Squawk!
Welcome back to our Last Jedi rewrite, The Balance of the Force. This is Act 2, The Last Jedi. Again, I appreciate your patience with the inconsistent audio quality. My audio editing skills are not the greatest. In case it's been a while since you've seen Act 1, here's a quick summary. If you don't need it, click here to skip to this time code. Act 1 was the missing act, where we fleshed out the backstory that's been lacking in the sequel trilogy. After Return of the Jedi, our heroes had 20 years of peace until the casino planet, Canto Bight, started an anarchist movement called the Insurgency to fight the New Republic. Their red and black color scheme and recommissioned Imperial ships clues the audience that they're the start of the First Order. General Luke Skywalker is encouraged by several of his admirals to use portable Death Star tech called an orbital cannon to kill insurgents from space. But being the good guy that he is, he chooses a capture-first policy instead, causing the New Republic to incur heavy casualties. Padawan Ben Solo is tasked with leading the on-ground battles where he gets a first-hand view of the casualties, causing a rift between him and Luke. In the present, Rey hides her Force bond with Kylo so that she can get Jedi training from Luke. Finn recovers at the Resistance base, and he and Rey deepen their relationship via holopad communicator. Finn says if he was able to turn from the First Order, maybe others could too. They promise to try to save the First Order if they can. Luke teaches Rey a new Force technique to absorb blaster bolts. After several months of training, Rey has made tremendous progress, becoming a confident, capable Jedi. In Act 2, we pick up where The Last Jedi began. The First Order is spread all throughout the galaxy, searching for the Resistance. On the First Order headship, Snoke feels guidance from the Force and directs the head ship to Dakar, where they find the Resistance base. From here, the basic premise of the movie is similar. The First Order discovers the Resistance and pursues them through space. I didn't find it believable that a Resistance ship could survive against an entire First Order fleet because they were out of range of their weapons, so let's alter the scenario. This time, it's just the First Order head ship, not the whole fleet. Also, the Resistance has developed a device that blocks all communications, Resistance and First Order alike, so neither can call for reinforcements. In the opening battle, the First Order damages the Resistance ship's hyperdrive, while the Resistance damages the head ship's weapons and blocks their communications. Each side has an edge over the other. The First Order has hyperdrive but no communications. The Resistance can block communications but has no hyperdrive. Symmetry. The Resistance ship is trying to survive long enough to fix their engines, with the First Order ship in hot pursuit. It's a race against time. The Resistance ship must find a way to survive long enough to repair its hyperdrive. Also, now that the First Order head ship's weapons are damaged, they'll be forced to attack with small craft, so we get a prolonged space battle between TIEs and X-Wings, with the Resistance forces slowly dwindling, forcing them to become more and more desperate, which in my opinion makes for a more interesting premise than one large ship trying to outrun another large ship in the vacuum of space. We get Kylo's attack on the Resistance ship with Princess Leia's Mary Poppins scene. More on this later. I'd like to give Poe more things to do in this movie, and I want to develop the relationship between Poe and Finn, so let's task both of them with helping the Resistance repair their ship. It just so happens that the nearest place with the requisite parts is Canto Bight, the casino city, and the origin of the Insurgency. In the original movie, I thought it was a bit odd that the First Order was right on the Resistance's tail, yet Finn and Rose were able to fly away to the casino planet without being detected. So, in this version, Poe is going to have to avoid detection by jumping to hyperspace from inside the ship. He's going to have to use his ace piloting skills to bank a path inside the ship's damaged hull to gather enough speed to get to hyperspace. And when they complete their mission and hyperjump back with the parts, it will alert the First Order to their presence, putting the Resistance under even more pressure. Finn updates Rey on his mission to Canto Bight, and she updates him on her Jedi training. They have an easy rapport after developing the relationship over several months. Finn tells Rey Canto Bight is a cesspool of corruption and excess, with severe class inequality. It's not quite the slavery we saw in the original movie, but for the poor, life under the Insurgency is a desperate struggle for survival, reminding Rey of her life on Jakku. Back on the Jedi Island, Rey is plagued by nightmares of her parents. She feels the dark side pit calling to her, promising answers. In the middle of the night, she sneaks out of her hut into the pit. This time, we get to see her parents' faces as they care for a young Rey on Jakku. We again get that scene of them flying off into space, and just as we're about to see what happened to them, Rey is force-pulled out of the void by Luke. She screams in protest, furious. What did it promise you? She attacks Luke with her staff, and we get that scene of them fighting in the rain. I was gonna find out what happened to my parents. It's all I've cared about for my entire life. Why would you take that from me? The dark side tempts you by offering the answers you want, not the ones you need. Rey, I already lost one student to the dark side. I cannot lose you too. Rey is sobbing. So why didn't you go after him? Why didn't you help the resistance? The galaxy is burning. How could you sit here all these years and do nothing? There's something I haven't told you. It's time I told you about the First Order and how I lost Ben to the dark side. Flashback. The New Republic is starting to win battles against the insurgency thanks to more and more admirals reporting they have troops to spare. Luke and Ben walk into a command room with admirals awaiting them. Luke is in good spirits. The tide of the war is turning. This time, many more admirals report they have troops to spare. The smile begins to fade from Luke's face. A sudden realization occurs to him, as if a fog had been draped over his eyes this entire time. How have you had troops to spare? Several admirals look at each other nervously until one speaks up. Because we've been using the orbital cannon to kill the insurgents you were unwilling to kill. Explain yourself, Admiral Snoke. We were losing the war because you were unable and unwilling to make the difficult decisions. These insurgents are irredeemable filth. What good could you possibly see in them? You traded the lives of our troops, our people, productive people, for theirs, and for what? You killed thousands of innocent people. By ending the war, we can save millions more. This is war, General. There are no innocents, least of all you. You think sparing the lives of insurgents allows you to keep your hands clean? What of the lives of our men, the thousands dead because you tied one hand behind our backs? Is their blood not on your hands? You have grown soft. Chaos spreads across the galaxy because of your insistence on putting fairness and mercy above all else. Order, General Skywalker. Order comes first. How did you hide this from me? Did you think you were the only one skilled in the Force? You'd be amazed how easy it is to hide horrors from people, especially if, even subconsciously, they're unwilling to look. Troops charge in behind Snoke. Ben stands off to the side. Ben? Luke looks at him in bewilderment. He's right, Uncle. I've tried to warn you again and again, but you didn't listen. The other students agree with me. Our people are dying. We need to be willing to do what's necessary, and it's clear you aren't. He joins Snoke's side, as do more than half of the admirals. We realize this is the true origin of the First Order, a takeover from within the New Republic military. In one fell swoop, this explains the origin of the First Order, Snoke's origin, and why the New Republic is at such a disadvantage. And it follows our theme of evil within the good. The evil didn't come from the outside, it came from within. And it mirrors the story from the prequels, where the Empire developed from the Republic, but with a more modern take. This time, they're not just evil for the sake of being evil, they actually do believe they're doing the right thing. And it gives a much stronger rationale for Luke running away to the island. This time, it's not because he pulled a lightsaber on his own nephew. It's because he allowed the First Order to grow right under his nose, fractured the New Republic, lost Ben to the dark side, and all of that happened directly as a result of the decisions he made. That one story change works on 7 different levels. Luke draws his lightsaber. Do not fight us, General Skywalker. We want what you want, a safe, stable, secure galaxy. We're just willing to do what it takes to get it. I will never forgive you for what you've done. So be it. A fight breaks out. The troops fire on Luke and the remaining good Republic admirals. Luke saves a few of them behind him by absorbing a few blaster bolts, but he loses several others. Snoke uses the Force to pin Luke under some equipment, then Force freezes the New Republic admirals, taking up much of his concentration. Ben ignites his lightsaber. He is going to execute them. Luke begs Ben to stop, but Ben says by sacrificing these few lives, they can save millions more. He tells Luke he had his chance. The New Republic had its chance. Now it's time for someone else to take the reins, someone who's willing to do what's necessary to achieve victory. As Ben approaches the admirals, Luke quietly says, "I'm sorry, Ben," then Force throws his lightsaber at him. At the last second, Snoke senses it and pushes Ben out of the way, but the lightsaber stabs him through the head. With Snoke seemingly dead, Luke frees himself, Force pulls back his lightsaber and defends the remaining admirals as they retreat under blaster fire. When the dust settled, more than half of the New Republic military became the First Order. The fallout was swift. Leia was ousted as leader and expelled from the Senate, finding refuge with the Resistance. After the Jedi allowed the dark side to grow within their ranks twice in a single generation, the New Republic banned Jedi teachings, determining it was not worth the risk. This is how in 10 short years, the Jedi went from being the galaxy's next best hope to a mere myth. Disgraced and banned from teaching the Jedi way, Luke exiles himself to the island Ahch-To. The former students that were part of the First Order takeover now call themselves the Knights of Ren. The rest were slaughtered. The First Order retreated to the Outer Rim, constantly moving, out of reach of whatever was left of the New Republic. Since then, they've been biding their time, strategically striking at insurgent-controlled planets, taking them over, indoctrinating their children, slowly growing their forces. Planet by planet, they slowly built up power until the time was right to strike again. Snoke is placed in a Bacta chamber. Due to the severity of his injuries, he is given experimental accelerated growth factors, causing deformity and increased size. If we're going to portray Snoke as a sympathetic villain, we need to show the First Order trying to do good. We get a scene on a war-torn planet of a young child being attacked by the insurgency. Just as he's about to be killed, the First Order arrives, killing the insurgents, saving the boy's life. The boy is conscripted into the First Order. We see a montage of him growing under their stormtrooper training. At the end, we see the boy is Finn. The First Order saved him from the insurgency, but at the cost of his freedom. There's one thing I don't understand. Why would Snoke sacrifice himself to save Ben? Come with me. Luke leads Rey to the tree housing the Jedi texts. He opens a small, dusty volume. Born to a commoner, a child, gifted in the Force, beyond compare, through the sacrifice of a master, shall be destined to bring balance to the Force. According to the Jedi, this was the prophecy of the Chosen One. But there was a mistranslation. It's not the Chosen One, it's a Chosen One. There can be others, and Ben, like his grandfather, is a chosen one. Those same descriptors apply to Ben. Born to a commoner, gifted in the Force, sacrifice of a master, bringing balance to the Force. When he was young, I felt a shift in the Force, like a new presence announcing its arrival, one with the power to change the galaxy. I hadn't sensed power like that since I met my father. And sure enough, as he grew up, Ben was the most gifted Force user I had ever seen. I see so much of myself in you, Rey. The Force once called upon me to confront the Chosen One, as it now calls upon you. This explains why Kylo is so powerful with the Force, why Snoke recruited him specifically, and finally gives us an explanation why Kylo looks up to Vader. He's a Chosen One, just like him. And that is our Act 2. We created a much stronger rationale for Luke isolating himself on the island by directly tying in the origin of Snoke and the First Order. We explained why Snoke wanted Kylo as an apprentice. He is a chosen one. Click here for Act 3, Twists and Turns. See you in the next one.